My name is Chandrashekhar Acharya Das. Originally from Australia, but have now been serving in the China region for many years. Thank you for inviting me to share something about Bhakti Charu Swami on the occasion of the first anniversary of his disappearance. I can't say I was close to Maharaj, to Bhakti Charu Swami, but the nature of his character was he always made everybody feel very close. He was always, as we all know, very kind, very personable, and even if you may have only seen him once a year for 5 or 10 minutes, but still he made one feel very close. I first met Maharaj many years ago when I was in the Gurukul in Vrindavan and Mayapur. I first met him in Vrindavan, when I was 10 or 11, and then of course later in Mayapur. I was there for many years serving in the Gurukul. So he was, of course, primarily in Bengal, West Bengal at that time, serving in West Bengal. And of course he would come to Mayapur often. So as a child I had a certain amount of interaction with him, as anyone would have. It may be known for some years, maybe for 1 or 2 or 3 years, he was also the principal for the Mayapur Gurukul. I think it was the early 90s. By that time I had already left Mayapur, and for many years I was not able to return to India for various reasons, so our paths didn't really cross all that much during those years. But then later, after I began serving as a GBC member for the China region, then of course I would attend the GBC meetings and just visit Mayapur yearly. And of course he was always there. And again, even though I didn't have much personal interaction with him, but he always made one feel very close. Although he was so much more senior, he always treated everybody, not only myself. I don't have a special story in that regard, but he treated everyone very kindly, again very personably, made everybody feel very close, always very welcoming. Various things that stand out for me. The year he was serving as the chairman of the GBC, I don't remember what that year was. I think it could have been 2018 maybe, or I think it was 2017 or 18. He was the chairman of the GBC for that year. And as happens every year, there's always a lot of issues, a lot of contentious issues. Sometimes there's a lot of heat in the meetings, particularly on the EC level, within the GBC EC level. But he was just the same. He was just the same. Gentle, soft-natured, relaxed. I never detected or felt any kind of tension within him. And I know during that year I approached him briefly and I guess you could say glorified him and thanked him for being so level-headed in spite of the service he was serving as the GBC chairperson. He was just the same old nice person as he always is, and to whoever we might. I'm a small person, junior in so many ways, but as again with so many others. But he was just always so level-headed. So during that year, he was the chairperson for the GBC body, chairman. It was the same. He was just the same. I do know he visited the China region, Hong Kong to be exact, in the 80s. I was not serving here at that time. He came here quite often. I understood, I had heard from Giridhari Swami, who was serving here. I don't recall him coming during the 90s, but once he began the project in Ujjain, he came a few times to buy items, I believe, for the project in Ujjain, in mainland China, and he transited Hong Kong a few times also, not for very long, and he just got what he needed for the project in Ujjain, and perhaps other places also. But we were able to meet him during one or two of those visits, and it was again the same. He was just the same nice, sweet self, always a gentleman, always a Vaishnava gentleman, I should say. And again, whoever you were, whoever one was, however small, he just made one feel close and special, and appreciated and respected, which is really, as has been said so many times now, very much a part of his, just who he is, just a very nice, perfect Vaishnava gentleman. I would like to speak a bit about his disappearance, because I don't have, I didn't have so much interaction, so I don't have stories to tell in that regard. But except what I've already mentioned of him being just such a nice, gentle Vaishnava gentleman, although he was so big, so many disciples and respected leader in ISKCON, but he again always treated people respectfully and very kindly, including myself and everybody else. He didn't just cater to big people. Sometimes we are nice to big people and we can be sort of negligent to little devotees or inconsequential devotees, but he wasn't like that. He wasn't like that. But anyway, about his disappearance, in one sense it might be said to be an unexpected way for such a great Vaishnava as himself to disappear. I'm a disciple of Tamal Krishna Goswami, and as we all know, they were very close personally, but also due to their services. Finally, in the final year of Srila Prabhupada, serving in his servant secretary team, and then after that in their GBC service and whatever other services they were engaged in. So they were very close, as we all know. And as we also know, Tamal Krishna Goswami, he passed away in a somewhat, we might believe, unexpected sort of a way, in a car accident. We don't really envision, great Vaishnavas like that passing away in a car accident, as we don't, I guess, envision someone like Bhakti Charu Swami passing away in a hospital with COVID-19. A somewhat unusual way, or surprising way, not unusual but surprising way. So when I think of situations like this, as in Maharaj's case, and it came to mind when he did pass away 1 year ago, as it does when Tamal Krishna Goswami passed away, and thinking about that. But I always, I guess you could say, take shelter of the words of Bhishmadev in the 9th chapter of the first canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, his passing away, Bhishma Dev's passing away itself, was somewhat unexpected in one sense. Of course, he was a Kshatriya, so I guess it was expected he would die in a battlefield if that were to happen. But he is one of the 12 Mahajans, not a small position. He is one of the 12 Mahajans, along with, as we know, Sukadev Goswami, Bali Maharaj, and Swayambhuva Manu, and so on. But his passing away was different from all of theirs, with arrows pierced in his body and on a battlefield. Of course, when he did pass away, Lord Krishna and so many rishis were there, but just the manner in which he passed away, of course he could choose when, but still the manner in which he passed away was not typical, I guess, in one sense one could say, for a Mahajan. That too, among the 12 Mahajans. But anyway, when there are things like this that happen that defy all sort of expectation and explanation, I often turn to the words of Bhishma Dev in the 9th chapter of the 1st canto of the Bhagavatam, which is what I would like to read. So I'm beginning from text number 12. Bhishma Dev said, "Oh, what terrible sufferings and what terrible injustices you good souls suffer for being the sons of religion personified. You did not deserve to remain alive under those tribulations, yet you were protected by the Brahmanas, God, and religion." Text 13. "As far as my daughter-in-law Kunti is concerned, upon the great General Pandu's death she became a widow with many children, and therefore she suffered greatly. And when you were grown up, she suffered a great deal, also because of your actions." Text 14. "In my opinion, this is all due to inevitable time, under whose control everyone in every planet is carried, just as the clouds are carried by the wind." Text 15. "Oh, how wonderful is the influence of inevitable time. It is irreversible. Otherwise, how can there be reverses in the presence of King Yudhisthira, the son of the demigod controlling religion, Bhima, the great fighter with a club, the great bowman Arjuna with his mighty weapon Gandiva, and above all, the Lord, the direct well-wisher of the Pandavas." And I'm going to read this purport. I'll read this short purport. "As far as the material or spiritual resources were required, there was no scarcity in the case of the Pandavas. Materially, they were well equipped because two great warriors, namely Bhima and Arjuna, were there. Spiritually, the king himself was the symbol of religion, and above all of them, the personality of Godhead, Lord Sri Krishna, was personally concerned with their affairs as the well-wisher. And yet, there were so many reverses on the side of the Pandavas. Despite the power of pious acts, the power of personalities, the power of expert management, and the power of weapons, under the direct supervision of Lord Krishna, the Pandavas suffered so many practical reverses, which can only be explained due to the influence of Kala, inevitable time. Kala is identical with the Lord himself, and therefore the influence of Kala indicates the inexplicable wish of the Lord himself. There is nothing to be lamented when a matter is beyond the control of any human being." And then text 16. "O King," to Yudhisthira Maharaj, "no one can know the plan of the Lord. Even though great philosophers inquire exhaustively, they are bewildered." So in the case of the Pandavas, we are all aware, we are all familiar. They're all personal associates of the Lord, under the Lord's direct supervision, and yet, they went through what they went through. And Bhishma Dev himself, who is one of the Mahajans, the 12 Mahajans, he understands it to be inexplicable. The plan of the Lord is inexplicable. So the whys and the hows of Krishna taking his devotees away the way he does, I think there can be no doubt. Bhakti Charu Maharaj, of course, is special in so many ways. The way in which Srila Prabhupada brought him into his inner circle so soon, just months after him coming to Krishna consciousness, the way in which Srila Prabhupada gave him sannyas, and first, second, and sannyas, I think it was within a year of his being a devotee, how he was brought into Srila Prabhupada's inner circle. And then, his service after Srila Prabhupada departed, and his genuine Vaishnava character and nature and qualities and learning and realization and piety. And there's no doubt, I think, that he was special in spiritual, material ways, that many of us only pray to be. So although, and that too after 40, 50 years of service, and a lot of it also. So the manner in which he passed away, yes, it's inexplicable. It's inexplicable. But I don't think we could, based upon Bhishma Dev's words, the Lord doesn't forget. And how can he, even a devotee who does a little bit, even one who chants the holy name once, as we have heard, the Lord is in their eternal debt. What to speak about someone like Bhakti Charu Swami, and Tamal Krishna Goswami and other Vaishnavas also. The material world is no doubt a dangerous place. There's danger at every step. Birth, old age, disease, and death is just a fact of life, and we're all affected by it, whoever we are. So in the case of Bhakti Charu Swami, yes, of course it was sad in that sense that he passed away when he did. But we all pass away, we all have our time to pass away. He had his time. Krishna took him when he wanted to be taken. When Krishna wanted to take him, or when Srila Prabhupada felt his time was up, serving in ISKCON. But none of that, the manner in which he passed away doesn't in any way diminish who he is. It doesn't in any way diminish. And then, the outpouring of grief and remembrance after his passing, we all experienced. It was quite amazing. It was really quite amazing. And something that also I remember, I'm sure all of you have heard Radhanath Swami's glorification after Bhakti Charu Swami passed away, and something that stuck in my mind. He wasn't alone. He wasn't alone, although in one sense he was, but actually he wasn't alone. He had the hearts and thoughts of thousands of devotees when he passed away. So he wasn't, and prayers, so he wasn't alone. He wasn't alone, because he had the thoughts, prayers, and the hearts of devotees all over, thousands of devotees all over the ISKCON world. And again, Krishna certainly was there, as was Srila Prabhupada. There's no doubt he was close to Srila Prabhupada, and again, as we mentioned, Srila Prabhupada brought him into his inner circle. Srila Prabhupada himself is, most soft-hearted, compassionate Vaishnava, so he certainly wouldn't neglect him. And I like, you've all seen, of course, the autobiography. And there's a very beautiful painting of, Srila Prabhupada holding, on the front cover, as you know, holding the hand of a small child, who in this case is Bhakti Charu Swami. And, his passing is simply that. It's simply like that. In my own case, just to finish up, I didn't get a huge amount of association with Tamal Krishna Goswami. So I don't have stories to tell like so many other disciples may. But that didn't make me feel distant from him. And I felt closer to him by performing my service, which he instructed me to do, and by hearing his teachings, by hearing his classes. I mean, we always hear that, the Vani is more important than the Vapu, but really it is, and it makes one feel closer to the spiritual master. And it was for me. Again, I don't have dozens of stories to tell, unlike other disciples, but I don't feel distant. And I've only, over the years of his passing, I've only felt closer to him by performing my service and by listening, regularly to his teachings, his classes, and of course hearing his glorification from others. And fortunately now we have so much video. So for all of you disciples of Bhakti Charu Swami, it applies. I mean, it's not just a theoretical concept. It really does work. It really does work. Even with Srila Prabhupada, most of us have not met him, but I don't feel distant from him by listening to his lectures and watching him on video and audio, and we feel close. We feel close to him, closer and closer, and it's the same. So it's not just a theoretical concept. It's really a reality. And I believe it's the same for you, and if we take advantage, then you'll only feel closer to your spiritual master. Of course, we always regret, as I did also, that we could have taken more opportunity of his being here when he was here. So that is a regret, and I have that regret, and you probably have it much more than I do. But by, again, performing our service, listening to his lectures, and you have a lot of video, fortunately, the blessings of modern technology, and again continuing his legacy in the best way that you are able to do so, in your own little ways. So yes, it's a sad day without Maharaj's presence for all of us. More so for you, a sad day for ISKCON also. But again, Krishna has his inexplicable plan, as revealed by Bhishma Dev. Even, he himself passed away in a somewhat unusual way, externally, apparently. And the Pandavas underwent all they went, which is not something you expect, but it happened. Stuff happens. But that doesn't make Krishna's presence or Krishna's plan any less, or Krishna's protection any less. It makes it inexplicable, no doubt. And it is inexplicable, these sorts of things. But I think we can be assured that Krishna's and Srila Prabhupada's presence was very much there, is always there. It's simply we may not realize it as such. So anyway, on this day, for all of you, on the 1-year anniversary, we offer our heartfelt condolences to all of you. And certainly Bhakti Charu Maharaj's memories and example are really guiding lights for all of us. So thank you so much for this invitation. And we're going to be celebrating here in Hong Kong also on the 24th of July. We'll be doing something here with our small community of devotees. as we did last year. Hare Krishna. Jai Srila Bhakti Charu Swami Maharaj ki. Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda ki. Hare Krishna.